Welcome back to Teknobalta. Today, we are tackling a frustrating issue in CS2, screen tearing on high-end hardware. Many players, even those with an RX 6700 XT and a Ryzen 5 5600X, experience visual glitches. We at Teknobalta analyzed this case to understand why a 165Hz monitor still shows tearing at 400 FPS. Screen tearing occurs when the GPU sends a new frame while the monitor is still drawing the previous one. This results in a horizontal line where two different frames are spliced together. In competitive games like CS2, this is not just an aesthetic issue, it affects your aim and reaction time. The user reported that even with FreeSync enabled, the tearing persisted. This happens because FreeSync only works within a specific refresh rate range. If your FPS exceeds the maximum refresh rate of your monitor, FreeSync effectively turns off. Let us begin our deep dive into the root cause analysis. Step 1 is understanding the relationship between frame time and refresh intervals. At 400 FPS, your frame time is roughly 2.5 milliseconds. However, a 165Hz monitor refreshes every 6.06 milliseconds. This mismatch creates a massive overlap of data in the display buffer. We at Teknobalta recommend a systematic approach to fixing this. First, we must perform preparation and pre-checks on your hardware. Ensure you are using a high-quality DisplayPort cable rather than HDMI. DisplayPort is more reliable for high refresh rates and adaptive sync technologies. Next, update your AMD software Adrenalin Edition to the latest version. Driver stability is crucial for CS2 as the Source 2 engine is still receiving frequent updates. Now, let us look at the monitor OSD settings. Ensure that FreeSync or Adaptive Sync is set to On or Extended in the monitor's physical menu. Without this, the software cannot communicate with the hardware scaler. We at Teknobalta have identified that CS2 handles full-screen modes differently than CSGO. The windowed full-screen mode often introduces triple buffering, which adds input lag. Always use full-screen for the best performance and lowest latency. Now, let us move to the main solution path. Open your AMD Adrenalin Software and navigate to the Gaming tab. Select Counter-Strike 2 from the list of games. Disable all enhancement features like Radeon anti-lag, boost, and image sharpening for now. We want a clean slate to identify the conflict. The user found that disabling anti-lag actually helped stabilize the frame delivery. This is because anti-lag can sometimes cause microstutters if the CPU is already under heavy load. Now, ensure AMD FreeSync is set to AMD Optimized or On. Here is the technical secret. FreeSync alone does not stop tearing at the bottom of the screen. To achieve a tear-free experience without significant lag, you must use a specific combination. We at Teknobalta recommend enabling VSync inside the game settings, but with a twist. When FreeSync is active, VSync does not behave like traditional VSync. It acts as a frame capper that prevents the GPU from ever exceeding the refresh rate. This keeps the frame delivery strictly within the FreeSync range. However, the user noticed that VSync caused frame drops. This is likely due to the 4:3 resolution scaling issues in the current CS2 build. We at Teknobalta suggest switching to your monitor's native resolution, usually 1920 by 1080. Native resolution ensures that the display scaler does not have to do extra work. If you must use 4x3, ensure that GPU scaling is enabled in the AMD driver. Set the scaling mode to full panel or preserve aspect ratio. Now let us address the FPS limit. Setting the limit exactly to 165 Hz can cause collision between the frame and the refresh cycle. We at Teknobalta recommend capping your FPS at 3 to 4 frames below your refresh rate. For a 165 Hz monitor, set the cap to 161 or 162 FPS. You can do this using the CS2 console command FPS_max 161. This ensures that the GPU never hits the VSync ceiling, which eliminates VSync input lag. Let us explore alternative methods if the tearing persists. Try enabling AMD Enhanced Sync in the Adrenalin software. Enhanced Sync is designed to reduce tearing and lag when FPS is high. It allows the GPU to run at maximum speed, but only displays the most recent completed frame. Note that Enhanced Sync can sometimes cause crashes in Source 2 games. If you experience crashes, revert to the FreeSync plus FPS cap method. Another factor to consider is the Disable Fullscreen Optimizations setting in Windows. Right-click on the CS2 executable, go to Properties, then Compatibility. Check the box that says Disable Fullscreen Optimizations. This prevents Windows from trying to manage the display buffer, giving the game direct access. Now, let us talk about advanced optimization. We at Teknobalta suggest checking your wait for vertical refresh setting in the driver. Set this to off, unless application specifies. This gives the in-game settings priority, which is generally more stable. If you are still seeing stuttering while tearing is gone, check your frame pacing. Frame pacing is the consistency of the time between each frame. High FPS with poor frame pacing feels worse than low FPS with perfect pacing. Use the AMD Performance Overlay to monitor your frame time graph. A flat line indicates perfect pacing. Spikes indicate background processes interfering. We at Teknobalta recommend closing all unnecessary background apps like browsers or overlays. Even Discord's hardware acceleration can sometimes interfere with GPU scheduling. Let us recap the ultimate configuration for the RX 6700 XT in CS2. Monitor, FreeSync on. Driver, anti-lag off, enhanced sync off. In-game, full screen, native resolution, VSync on. Console, FPS max set to 161. This specific setup forces the game to stay in the Goldilocks zone of your monitor. No tearing, no excessive input lag, and smooth frame delivery. Why did the user say 4x3 was worse? Source 2 uses a different rendering pipeline for non-native aspect ratios. This can cause the DWM, or Desktop Window Manager, to force its own sync. This conflict is what caused the user's Kazmaya-Baslier, or starting to lag feeling. By switching to 16:9, the game bypasses these scaling conflicts. If you are a professional player who insists on 4x3, you must use display scaling. Set scaling mode to center in your monitor settings if possible. This keeps the pixel mapping 1:1, reducing processing overhead. We at Teknobalta also suggest checking the low latency mode in CS2 settings. For AMD users, this is often labeled as NVIDIA Reflex, but it works on AMD too. Set it to Enabled or Enabled plus Boost. This helps the CPU and GPU stay synchronized, further reducing input lag. Remember, every system is slightly different. If you experience stuttering with VSync on even with the cap, turn VSync off. Some monitors have firmware bugs that don't handle the FreeSync plus VSync combo well. In that case, use Radeon Chill to limit your FPS. Set the min and max FPS in Radeon Chill to 161. Radeon Chill is often more efficient at the driver level than the in-game limiter. We at Teknobalta have tested this on various RDNA2 cards. The results show that Radeon Chill provides very consistent frame times. Now let's look at the texture filtering and ambient occlusion settings. While these don't directly cause tearing, they affect the GPU load balance. Keep multi-sampling anti-aliasing at 4x or lower for a balance of clarity and speed. High MSAA can cause sudden GPU spikes during smoke grenades. These spikes break the sync and cause a momentary tear or stutter. We at Teknobalta recommend the low preset for global shadow quality. This reduces the CPU draw calls, keeping your frame delivery smooth. If you are using a dual monitor setup, ensure both monitors are at the same refresh rate. Windows sometimes struggles to sync a 165Hz and a 60Hz monitor simultaneously. This can cause the primary gaming monitor to lock to a lower refresh rate intermittently. We at Teknobalta suggest disconnecting the second monitor during competitive play to rule this out. Finally, let's discuss the shader cache. If you just updated your drivers, CS2 will stutter while it builds the cache. Play a few matches on each map to ensure all shaders are compiled. Once compiled, the frame delivery will be much more consistent. To summarize the technical reasoning, tearing is a timing issue. By using FreeSync with a cap, we align the GPU's output with the monitor's physical capability. By disabling driver-level hacks like anti-lag, we ensure the Source 2 engine handles the queue. This leads to the most stable competitive experience possible on AMD hardware. We at Teknobalta have verified these steps across multiple RX series cards. If you still face issues, check for a firmware update for your specific monitor model. Some early 165Hz panels had poor VSync implementation that required a patch. Always keep your system lean and optimized. Thank you for following our technical guide. We hope this solves your CS2 tearing issues once and for all. Don't forget to follow Teknobalta for more world-class technical insights and hardware solutions. See you in the next deep dive.